Hi, everybody. It's 1 minute after 6. I do like to start more or less on time, so we're going to get started. My name is Vanessa Pizzuto. This is our digital evangelist webinar. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be recording today's presentation, so if you have friends or colleagues who are unable to attend tonight, you can send them the link later. So just a couple of few things before I introduce our speaker. Please make sure you keep your microphone off while the speaker is talking. We will have a time for questions and answers at the end. And so you can write any questions that you have in the chat. So that's it. So allow me to introduce our speaker for today is Stein. He's coming from Norway. Hi there, it's great to see you. And he has a deep passion for Christ and the Adventist message, which is great. This is the kind of speaker that we want. He's a digital marketer and designer, has a master's degree in economics and business administration, and he's also studying digital design. He has worked with the Adventist ministries and different projects around the world in Norway, Australia, America, and Canada. And on a personal note, he's happily married to Val and loves to both play and produce music. And it's a privilege to have you with us. Thank you so much. So that you know, he was going to make a presentation for the communication advisory in Montenegro. We had some technical problems and decided we are not going to miss this presentation. We are just going to reshape it. So welcome, 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 Stein. The time is yours. And once you have roughly 40 minutes or more or less for your presentation. Once you're running out of time, I will send you a message via the chat to say, hey, remember, so we can have the time for questions and answers. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Maybe I should just share my screen so everyone can see the presentation. Let's see. So I titled it Clicking for Christ, Maximizing Digital Ads for Adventist Evangelism. And just on a kind of fun and interesting note, I made that one with the help of ChatGPT. So, you know, in marketing, it actually is a useful tool for us because it's really good at generating ideas and being kind of a soundboard, especially if you don't have a lot of people around you all the time to bounce ideas with. So just a fun thing, since that's kind of in the wind. Maybe I just start with a short prayer, and then we can get into it. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for this time we can spend together to learn about the tools that are available and that we can use to reach people for you. Give us wisdom, give us insight, give us the ability to discern what works and what doesn't work, and what is good and what is not good, and the mess of all the opportunities and options we have. In Jesus' name, amen. So this last year, I've been working with the Norwegian Bible Institute as a consultant. So this presentation is kind of based off of the work that I've done there and the results that we've gotten and the whole process. So just to kind of show you what we've done and how beneficial this process has been for us. The results in the third and fourth quarter last year, so from September until basically the new year, our budget was almost 20,000 euros. And we got 66,000 link clicks from that. This is on Facebook and Instagram primarily. We used the Meta Ads Manager. And out of that, we got 833 signups. And so you see about 550 or so said specifically that they came from an online ad and 85% of that from Facebook. So, and then you see about 280 are from people who have previously been they've been students at the Bible school. They've taken previous courses, but they got interested in another one, either through a newsletter, or they just went there and decided by themselves, or they saw an ad and decided to do another one. So for us, this means that the cost per sign up was 35 euros. And that is about 10% of what we used to pay per sign up just a few years ago. And this has gone down also for us through testing and iterating ads and all those kinds of things. So in our context, these results are really good. And we think that other people can also benefit from it, figuring out how they want to do it. And this is specifically paid marketing, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about it towards the end, the difference between paid and whatever you just do with it is, yeah. So then the question is maybe just very basic, because I'm trying to be extremely practical and also give some marketing tips here. So how do you start with a meta ad manager? Well, you need something to sell or to do, or something that you can offer, right? So a product or a course, or maybe multiple. And then you go and you set up a meta business account, and you do this through Facebook. So if you have a Facebook account, then you can do it that way. Your church probably has one already, and you can go in there, or if you have a Bible school, probably has one, and you can create a business account that way through your personal one. But here comes the thing. It's not enough to just have your business page. You also need to set up an ad account for each of your organizational units. So the Adventist Church in Norway has one main umbrella thing, but under there, each of the different, you could say, ministries or organizational units have their own ad account. So the spendings get mapped correctly, and the links and the web and the page that shows, the Facebook page that shows, is the correct one for each of these. And then you need to go in and you need to grant access to the people who are going to do the work. If it's you, that's fine. If you need other people on your team to help you with this, then you need to make sure that's in place as well. And from there on, you can test, run, and evaluate campaigns and all that. And that's what we're going to talk about the most here, how to do that and what to keep in mind. And this is for Meta Business Manager and the Ad Manager. And that's what we've found to work the best for us. We've tried Google Ads, search ads work well if you have a lot of volume. So if people are actually searching on Bible and Christianity and Jesus and stuff that's related to your websites. But in Norway, we don't have a lot of that because of the level of secularization. So it's mostly, we need to interrupt them in different ways, because they don't just search for our stuff usually. So we found this to be the best place, and YouTube didn't generate as much responses as we would have preferred. So here's kind of a cycle that I've put together with 5 different steps. Like all of these need to be in place before you start advertising, a system for all of this. But of course, the evaluation happens only after steps: create, test, advertise, engage, and then you evaluate, and then it goes on, right? So we'll start off with create. We have 27 Bible and lifestyle courses available. Some of it's old stuff that's repurposed and put online. Most of it is available digitally and physically, so they receive copies in the mail if they want, or they can just study it online. It's free, but they do have to sign up. And if you click on one of these pictures or texts, then you'll see that each course has its own landing page where they go to sign up. And that's also important for advertising purposes. We'll get to that later on, landing pages. So then you got to have your base material, and then you got to continue to develop these products based on the previous steps and the previous learnings that you gain. as I say here, you need to iterate to make sure that there's a good match between your product or service and your audience. So that's just a few short notes on create, because we'll spend most of the time focusing on testing and advertising. So when it comes to the testing, this is the main crux of everything, because we have a tendency to think that we know a lot about our audience, but we don't know nearly as much as we would like to think, and we don't know them as specifically as we need to. And also, so I'll just get these out here. So you see, we test because it saves us a lot of money. Because once you run an ad, you can spend thousands and thousands of euros without even really knowing if you get the most out of those money. So if you test on a small scale, multiple ideas, then you'll see if it actually works. So when you test, cost per click goes down, link clicks go up, and if we don't test, then we just simply pay more. We also test to keep us humble, because we constantly discover new things. And if we have to make one assumption, then we should assume that we don't know everything. Because if not, then we stop learning, right? And that's not very useful. And then also it helps us listen and learn about our audience. And we got to think, and I constantly have to remind myself that I'm not, even if I am a part of my audience, maybe in certain cases, or maybe I was a part of the audience, I am not the entire audience. And when we're advertising to large amounts of people, we need to figure out what works for most people. Because, yeah, it depends on the campaigns, it depends on all kinds of stuff, right? So we need to really hone in and make sure that we specify the ads and the wordings and everything. So we got to test our text. Usually we test 10 to 20 phrases per product or course. So that could be one sentence, it could be part of a sentence, 2 sentences like here in the example on the right side. But it has to be something that makes sense on its own, so that you can kind of, if someone reacts to it, they have something to react to, if that makes sense. And then the way we do it, the way we design these are very, very simple, and that's absolutely on purpose, because we just want to gain their attention first, and then we want them to read and click or not click, right? By using the color blocks. If you do it this way with a big thing on the top and a small block on the bottom, and just keep them in 2 different levels of saturation, make sure there's a proper good contrast there, large text and everything. And the one-to-one format is just really good, because it helps you with the different placements, because these ads can show up in all kinds of places, but the one-to-one ratio is typically good for text. But when it comes to the placements, I also make sure it gets really technical, but I hope that if I just get it all out there, then people who are totally new to this can just watch it a couple of times and then try to maybe glean some info. And the people who know quite a bit of this already can get some tips, right? So the placements for the text tests are only in feeds and stories. That means when someone scrolls on the homepage, they might see it, but they won't see it, like, for example, on desktop on the right-hand side, or so it's not tiny when it shows up. It's actually readable, right? And if you're on Instagram and you're swiping through your stories, or you're going down through the homepage, you can actually see it and read it. So we know that they have an opportunity to react. And then we put in, because we're testing, and we're testing 10 to 20 of them, we don't want Facebook to just go wild and spend all of our money. So we set an automated rule that says when it's reached 400 impressions, turn it off. Right? So they only they're only visible for 400, max 400 impressions. Sometimes goes a little bit above, but that's only because they check every 30 minutes, but that's okay. And based on that, you'll see how many link clicks you got out of those 400 impressions, and you'll get a percentage number called the CTR percentage. So that's the amount of link clicks divided by the amount of impressions. And we've found that over 3% on a test is good, over 2% is decent, but anything below that is going to lose its value really quick, and you're going to have to pay a lot per view and per link click. So then here comes the thing. After we've tested and analyzed the texts and which ones gave us the best result, like 10, 20 phrases per course, right, across all the courses, that's a lot of them. But it really gives us a good data set, so that per course now, we typically have some phrases that work really well per course. And then we put them together and create a little manuscript, right? And descriptions. So the descriptions would go above if there's a video. Sometimes it goes into the manuscripts and so on. So this is how I do it in Illustrator. I just pull up a bunch of artboards, create like a two-tone color background, put the text on there, and then you see on the left there, Ærlig talt Gud, that's the name of one of the courses. So I just map them out like that. And then when you test videos, because you can either just do this here and take these texts and put them together into a nice thing, and then make it a description and then use a picture under it, right? That's fine, but typically we've found that it's the older users who are more likely to click on those. So if you try to engage the whole spectrum, it's better to include video. It's also cheaper when it comes to the ads. Of course, it's more resource intensive on the production side, right? So with the videos, we take 6 courses per test run, because that's what our media team is comfortable with, and it fits our needs in the Bible school. So we test 6 courses per, and then we have 2 different presenters to see if we can get different reactions depending on who's reading the script. And it's usually one older, one younger, and also different genders as well can be helpful. And then we have 2 unique manuscripts per course. Sometimes we've experimented with 3, I think. So that means that per like big test for videos, we have 24 videos in total with these different variables. And again, we set it up so we have a max 400 impressions as an automated rule. So it turns off after that, and then we compare the CTR, the click-through rate percent. Again, that's link clicks divided by impressions. Then, so here's some advice just on the video ads, some practical things to keep in mind. Make the videos vertical, not horizontal. We're used to, when we watch movies and other kinds of content that we've mostly through the last many decades consumed with video, it's usually horizontal. But when it comes to ads, like across the board, 90% of our ads are viewed on a mobile. So we make sure that it works on mobile first. So you do not 16:9 as a ratio, you would do 9:16, right? But we've found that the ratio of 4:5 works really well as kind of a middle ground, because again, placements, Facebook, Instagram, they put it all over the place. So you want to make sure that you choose something that requires the least amount of different ads and different options, right? Timing is key. Your ads shouldn't be more than 15 seconds per ad, and you have the 3 first seconds to capture their attention. That's how fast, like maximum 3 seconds. That's how fast it goes before they decide, no, that's not for me, right? Or that is for me, I want to keep watching. And make sure you include a call to action in the video itself. What are they receiving? What are you offering? What's the whole thing? And include a person. Make sure they're being authentic and winsome. And then add in subtitles, because not everyone has the sound on, and make sure you have good contrast. You see in the example on the right here, there's a like transparent black box behind 100% white text, right? So there, whatever's behind, it's easily visible. Yeah, and also because people, they start watching without the sound, and maybe they turn it on later, right? So you want to make sure you show them something interesting and useful in the first 3 seconds. And you got to be very specific, of course, because if you have an ad that's very attractive and everything, but you don't tell them exactly what they're getting when they click on the link, it's going to seem too general to have any possibility of capturing their attention. So after we've done the tests, I export it to Excel, and then I put it in a big table like this. Lots of details and numbers and stuff. And then I go through and I try to analyze them. So I analyze which courses performed the best, how did they do with the younger, how did they do with the older, and what's the span for each course, right? And then how did the presenters do? Right, the presenters probably did a really good job if you just take it from a subjective experience, but on a large scale, you'll see what worked for who, right? And sometimes it's surprising, and sometimes your biases are confirmed, right? So that's kind of the fun thing. You think you know, but you don't know the sum of everyone's thoughts together, right? So that's the testing part. Can't skip it. Otherwise, you'll have to be very rich. And if you are very rich, then maybe you should test anyways, because you don't want to throw away all that money. So advertise. This is when we push them out into the world and spend as much of the budget as we can afford, right? Of course, if you're selling a product, then you want to make sure that the cost to advertise it doesn't outweigh or like remove your margin. But for us, because all the courses and products are free, it's more a question of what can we afford to advertise for, right? And how are the ads performing, and can we do it better, and so on. So we're looking more at the amount of signups and the retention rate and how much they completed, rather than the strictly economical perspectives of trying to grow that side of it. So when we advertise, our season is from September to April, with a tiny lull right before Christmas, because that's usually when people sit inside and feel comfortable writing, doing courses and doing like schoolwork kind of, right? The summer is a little bit less exciting here. And then you got to make sure that you sort it in a way that is really clear, because most of these, like Google, Facebook, all of them they sort the advertising experience, or your desktop basically is divided into campaigns, and under the campaign you have different ad sets, and under each of the ad sets you have individual ads. So this is like managing your folders on your computer basically, right? But usually, because it's a team, other people will come in and take a look, or you want to be able to explain what you've been doing and so on. So that's really important to make sure you have clearly labeled campaigns, ad sets, and ads. And then what we do is we split our budget, because we realized that when we had when we advertised to everyone from 18 to 65 plus, then 65 plus clicked away almost the entire budget. So we wanted to give the younger people a chance, so we split it up. So we figured out that between 18 to 39 and 40 to 65 plus was an okay balance. The reason why you don't want to split it up into infinite amount of groups, like one per year or whatever, is because Facebook wants big groups of people so that they have a huge data set to test and figure out where your ads can perform the best in. So divide it up if you have to, but don't divide it up more than necessary either, because then you'll end up paying more per click. Yeah, and of course, when we split the budget, it's really nice because it enabled us to customize the ads, and we could see, like I had here previously, you see in the age groups down there to the left, you see the different presenters did differently for the different age groups. And also at the top here, the courses, you can see the average is different. So different age groups like different courses more or less. And also when we test the different texts, we split it up so that some texts we can tell work better for the younger people, and some texts work better for the older. So it really helps you hone in. So here's what it looks like in the Meta Ad Manager when you get in there. And you see number 1 here points at the campaign. So it's like different tabs in a website browser. So on the campaign level, I think I call this one something like Norwegian Bible Institute Fall Campaign 2022, something like that, right? And then in the next one, I create, in the ad sets, this is where I put the different tests. So you can see some of them maybe way down there. One of them says video test, and then in parentheses, it says what age group I'm testing for, and so on. And then you can see I split up the different courses, and then I say whether it's a video or not, and then I say what age group it's for. And then in the third space here, or third tab, you have the individual ads. These are the ones that we found in the test to perform best for the different courses, right? And then also I've chosen different columns here. So you see there from the very left, it says off on, then ad set, then delivery, then CTR, that's the link click-through rate, and then link clicks, impressions, reach, cost per result, and then budget or daily budget, and then amount spent. So you can go in and customize these ones, and these are the key performance indicators or KPIs that I've found to be the most useful for us. And then to manage everything, because you see here on the to the left, a little below the 3 there, it says budget. That's where you adjust the daily budget. So then, of course, you have to, usually for a project, you get a certain, your budget is such and such amount of money, and then you divide that up on the amount of courses, and you divide that up on the amount of time that you want it to run for, and so on. And so you got to get it down to the daily level, right? The daily budget. So then you do that times 30 or whatever, that's for a month, and so on, right? So here's how I set it up in Excel with like a plan, and then underneath the plan, all the orange stuff there, that's it's like an update, so that instead of just looking at the ads manager the whole time, I have my own system where I can keep track of how the courses are doing and how they're, because sometimes here, when everything is everywhere all the time, is really difficult to see the trends. So when I actually take the time to write down the numbers, then I'm like, okay, so this one went from this to this, from this to this, from this to this, right? It seems quite tedious, but it really gives a solid insight into how things are doing and which courses are performing and which ones are not over time, when you have such a big portfolio to keep track of. And then you gotta moderate. You gotta take a look at the comments, right? See how people are responding. So then you go into the Meta Business Suite. That's number one there. On number two, you choose the organizational unit that you're advertising from. So that's the Norwegian Bible Institute. And then point three here is you click on the inbox. And then point four, you can go to the Instagram general thing, like the posts, and then you can go to the comments on the right, and then you can go to the comments, Facebook comments, and you can take a look when people write you messages on Messenger and so on. And this is really helpful to stay on top of this. And then sometimes people write really mean things, right? And you want to make sure you keep it. See, this is the whole debate, right? Like, how much are we going to moderate? How much are we going to remove? How much are we going to comment on, right? You got to figure out that as you get to know your audience. Some people are just out there to make a mess. Some people are genuinely curious, right? So we've put together social media moderating guidelines thing. And you can look at other Adventist organizations. They have lots of that if you don't have access to that, and you can put together something that makes sense for you guys. So then you want to make sure you, when you go to the comments, you see here, I've opened up the thing down there to the right, all comments. And then, because usually it shows up as most relevant, and then you don't actually see the most recent stuff, and you can't figure out where things are. So you click in and you look at either newest or all comments. And then you can take a look at everything. And then also here, if someone's writing something really mean, this comment wasn't. This is just an example to show you how you do it. You click on the three dots on the side of their comment, and then you either delete or hide. Sometimes if you're unsure, you can just hide it. Or if it's kind of an in-between thing where you don't know if they will be offended, if they figure it out that you did it. That's a lot of weird stuff, right? But sometimes, see, it's different when it's on your public profile. These things are just coming in your feed and they're gone, right? So the only way people are going to find their own comments is if that same ad shows up, or they commented first and then someone else commented on their thing and they get a notification. So sometimes when things get out of hand and the comment section is distracting from the ad, right? Then I go in and I clean up a little bit. And then we go from advertising to engaging, because once they've clicked, you got to make sure they have somewhere to go, right? Because a click in itself isn't worth much, even though it can cost quite a bit. So you got to figure out what happens when they click. Main thing is you have a landing page. So as I said in the beginning, for each of our courses, we have a specific landing page. And a landing page is a single purpose website that has, there's one thing you want it to do, and that's convert. Make them sign up if they're the right person, right? Because sometimes the course is not for them. They need to find a different thing, or that kind of thing. That's also why the ad has to be specific, so that it goes to a specific place where the people who are actually interested in that kind of thing and who would be benefited from it would find it, right? So make sure it's directly related to the ad. Make sure everything on the landing page is easily understood. The call to action, the sign up form, whatever it is, you can have multiple down on your whole landing page, but make sure at least there is one above the fold. And above the fold is like from newspaper world, right? Where you fold the newspaper, and then you see stuff up top, right? So before you start scrolling, basically, what do they see, right? You can't just have a pretty picture. You got to make sure you have something that that is interesting, and you got to have either a form with just the email or something, or a button they can click, right? Preferably strong contrast. button. So they see it and they notice it, and it's obvious what you would like them to do. Include social proof. Make sure the website, the landing page matches your overall branding, so it doesn't look like a scam or something really strange that feels like a total disconnect from what they clicked on and what they end up seeing. And design it for both mobile and desktop. And notice I said mobile first and then desktop second. And again, that's because most people sit like this on their phones, right? And then, of course, when they sign up, there's newsletters. They can be automated or not. Make sure you don't spam them, because you want to build trust and loyalty. Think of it as you're sending yourself an email. Would you want that email or not, right? And then make sure you offer them actual value. And you can also ask what they would like to see more of, or if they have feedback, or because you're trying to let them know that you're there to serve them, right? And this is because we want to follow up the interest and grow that. And then, of course, you can invite them to local events and all kinds of things. Some ideas on how to engage, right? And then we get to the evaluation. Got to take a look at what worked, what didn't work. Did the product work? Did the tests work? Did the ads work? You got to consider the big picture, because marketing is learning, and success takes time, because this is the thing, right? We are new to this maybe, and we tried for the first time and we set aside a nice budget, and we do it. Okay, and we didn't get the results we wanted. Are we just going to shut it down straight away? Or are we going to realize that new things might take a while to learn? And especially when we're dealing with marketing, we're tweaking and we're testing and we're figuring out, right? So to try to figure out and decide whether it works, you at least need 2 points of data, right? You need to have the first thing, and then you need to try again. And then you can see, did it go up or did it go down, right? If you try to decide based on the first one, you have no comparison. You don't know if it's working or not. Yep. And then you implement whatever learnings you think you found. First, implement them to the tests. See if it was actually confirmed or not. And then you can use it in your further advertising. Make sure you consider all the levels: campaign, ad sets, ads. You have different options on the different ones. So and then, yeah, think about your expectations, the numbers you got from the tests, and the results the campaign actually yielded, whether you were surprised about the mismatch or not. And then again, here our key performance indicators are signups and cost per signup. And then the small ones under that lead to the signups, right? So for us, for example, this is kind of interesting. After we split it in two, you can see from 18 to around 50, there's mostly men that click on our ads. Strange, but interesting. And then you see above that is mostly women. And yeah, so one of the things we're evaluating now is, why are we reaching the men? And can we include some women in the brainstorming process for the ads and maybe the courses and different things, right? To see if we can engage both genders. So that's it. Create, test, advertise, engage, and evaluate, and then keep going, right? But sometimes you get challenges. In January 2022, and this is a big one for us who advertise religiously, right? On religious topics. In January last year, Facebook Meta Ads Manager stopped allowing us to target based on political and religious markers. And this is why I haven't said anything about targeting specific demographics other than where they live and their age group, because we're actually not allowed to anymore. So the question is, what do we do then? Is everything going to go or is it going to be okay? Here's what we did, and it's worked quite well. Our ads are performing better than before, but they're not exactly the same because we did some things. So just remember that Facebook or Meta still know people's religious preferences, right? That's the first thing. We just can't decide who they are going to advertise to. But if you make sure to not shy away from religious keywords like Bible, Christian, Adventist, whatever your topic is, prophecy, Facebook is going to show your ads, or Instagram is going to show your ads to the people that are most likely to respond to that content. Right? So feel free to use that in your tests and then use the results from the test. And this steers the algorithm in the correct direction. And it helps, but it doesn't solve the problem entirely. Other stuff that we did is from just using text and images, we started using videos, and videos allowed us to do very cheap retargeting. So the people who responded and watched like 10 seconds of the video, they get to see that video again, or other things. Like we set it up so that we give them another chance to respond, right? So in the future, we got to make sure we take better care of the audience that we do have, and then study how to reach a more secular audience now that we're reaching everyone in Norway, kind of, right? Depending on whatever Facebook gives us. And then sometimes competition can increase ad expenses. Like, for example, when other advertisers decide to push and they have a huge budget, you want to make sure you maybe stay a little low. So during Black Friday, you can still do it, run your ads, but it's going to cost a bit more. And also right before Christmas and vacations, because then people aren't home necessarily either, right? So just make sure you watch your schedule. And for us, the next steps are to implement more learnings, improve the rest of the user journey with newsletters and more local church involvement, and inviting them to that, right? And combining it with organic advertising, which is when you don't pay anything to Facebook, but you pay a lot with your own energy and talents. So here are some ideas then, just because I suspect I'm soon finished here, but just wanted to mention quickly organic or paid ads. Because usually we're like, oh, but why do you spend so much money? Isn't organic free? Why don't you just do that? Wants to and knows how to find you. If they know the search keywords and you optimize for that, and you have word of mouth that works, great. Organic ads are superb for community building, like you put up YouTube videos and people start commenting, right? And you can engage in that way, or you go on Instagram or TikTok and you get a following that way. But it requires lots of experimenting still, just like paid advertisement, and learning. You got to check out your topics, presentation style, pacing, schedule, and you always have to adjust according to the algorithm, because the algorithm, especially now on Instagram and TikTok, wants new stuff over anything else. If your stuff isn't brand new, it probably won't show it to many people at all, right? So it's like you're going to invest a lot in that side of the things, and you're going to get less out of it. YouTube is a little more evergreen because stuff keeps showing up in the algorithm, even though it's a year, 2 years, 3 years old. So if you're doing organic, then I'd say make lots of YouTube stuff, maybe some podcasts, and then cut out snippets and feed it to the attention-hungry platforms that just want new stuff all the time. But again, then you got to make sure you change the format and everything so that it becomes mobile first again and not horizontal as it is on YouTube. So it costs nothing for ads, but lots for the labor. It's very time and talent intensive. And paid ads on the other side. If people aren't searching for your product services, paid ads allow you to take initiative by interrupting and test by comparing. You can decide how many impressions you're going to get before you stop it. You get actual numbers that help you with that stuff. And you pay to break through the algorithm, right? And you can reuse your creative content for a little bit longer. Ad fatigue is obviously still a thing with paid ads, and you got to make sure you don't blow your entire budget and make everyone sick and tired of your ads. You'll see that. You'll see the numbers plummet when they're tired, and you'll notice in the comments. So which one's best depends on your context, your product service, your available resources, and your timeline. One might be better to start with than the other. Yeah. So if anyone's interested in my master thesis, it's actually mostly on organic marketing, which I haven't talked much about. So then just send me an email to svhalvorsen@gmail.com and I'll send it to you. So went a little over, but
oh no, you were perfect. You were perfect. Thank you so much. I feel like you have given us so much to think about and to explore. I just want to say thank you for that brilliant summary. And so while people get their ideas and questions in line, you can write them in the chat for me. There is one question. I'm going to start to give people time for that. But you were talking about videos. I absolutely love the idea of using the ads, test the ads, and using them as the script for the video, because then the video is already pre-tested, which is brilliant. And you were talking about having ads which are 15 seconds, which makes sense. But I'm guessing the video itself was longer, and then, or did you have a 15-second video? You know what I mean? Or
yeah,
did you have a longer video and then cut it for the ad?
No, the video itself is 15 seconds and it's made specifically for that product and as an ad. So it's not cut out from a YouTube video or anything like that. That would fit more into the organic marketing side of things.
Right, so it was literally 15 seconds.
Yeah, at the most.
Done for this purpose made. Perfect.
Yeah, because you just want them, you don't want to show them a long thing. You just want them to get to your landing page where things actually happen, right? And then you might have a video that's longer there, and then like an input field where they can put their email and get something like a summary of the video or something, right?
This goes so against our culture as Christians and Adventists. We seem to like longer. So this calls for a culture change. And I'm glad you're sharing this with us. 15 seconds and it works. Wow. Yeah. When you choose the words carefully, when you know how to appeal, 15 seconds. And it's also a lot easier, right? If instead of having to create 5 videos of 10 minutes each, you're talking about 15 seconds, is a lot more doable. A lot more doable. Thank you. There's one question here. Let me read it for you. Which advertising platform, Facebook, Google Ads, etc., has proven to be best for results?
For us, Facebook, which then advertise on Facebook and Instagram, gives far better results than Google. You can get, like, there's a Google Grants thing where as nonprofits, you can sign up and get like $10,000 free marketing on Google Ads with search words only, which of course, sign up for that, get that in place. But for us, because in Norway, there's very little of that searching for religious things. And because we have a fairly small population, right? It's just like 5.5 million people or something. So the amount of searches for these different keywords is going to be very low. So what we have to do instead then is just use interruption marketing instead.
Right. I have another question for you. So for many of us across the TED, the Trans-European Division, we have very small teams trying to achieve a lot. So I wonder if you would mind sharing the size of your team. What would you think is the minimum size that you would need to try something like this? Maybe give us an idea.
Yeah, so the marketing side, the testing and the setting up ads and evaluating, those parts is what I do, just me. But then creating the courses, of course, that's a whole thing where Kjell Aune is he's the leader of the Bible Institute, and then Tore Kjærrensen is the leader of the media section, like the Hope Channel thing, and they really help us out a lot with creating these videos, right? And finding talent in their offices that can speak in front of the camera and read off these manuscripts, right? So, and then Tor and Kjell also iterate on these manuscripts before they are read and recorded, and then they hand it over to me and I run the ad thing.
All right, so it's you, and then you have some help from the media team to create the videos. And the Bible, I think the Bible part, the Bible Institute, I think you call it, I think most of us have a similar structure. Yeah. So it'll be, that part is no problem. But for some of us, they might not necessarily have a Hope channel. But again, if we're talking about a 15-second video, I think it's a lot more doable than what many of us have in mind. Absolutely. I mean, if you have a pastor or evangelist who's used to speaking and who knows how to sound fairly persuasive, just get them up against one color background, make sure it's well lit and there's some good contrast, and film them with your phone, right? Put it on a tripod or up against the wall or something. And then just make sure that you find a way to subtitle it, yeah, there are apps that do that for free. So exactly. You can download the app and the subtitles. That's something that you can do for free. Oh, and also when you test the texts, if you want to make those little color things, just use Canva. Like I use Illustrator because I like Illustrator and it's easy for me. But use Canva because it's very easy for most people to use that. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I had a question and now is gone. If anybody else has a question, because I'm talking, but if anybody else has a question, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I will share it. Oh boy, I'm trying to remember what was it that I scribbled something down, but I can't quite remember now.
Vanessa, may I
sure, go
just
for
comment?
It.
I just want to say thank you very much to Stein. I think he's done a super work in presenting all this, because it is quite complicated actually to get this all started. But don't be totally overwhelmed, because we have saved so much money in trying to get Voice of Prophecy Bible students, because for us the normal way before was to print a brochure, have it distributed by mail, and we would typically need 2,000 brochures distributed for one sign up. And I just, so Kjell Aune was the one who initiated all of this with Reimar Vetne, some of you know him. Make sure that you have your basic infrastructure in place. You need a Facebook page for your organization, not a profile. You need to create that business account and use Business Manager. That is sometimes a little daunting, and it took quite some time before we got there. So just work away on that, and get used to the Meta Business Suite. It really pays a lot of dividend. And I don't think, Stein, you mentioned the pixel that is needed to install on the. Could you say maybe a few words on that?
Yeah, that's if you want to keep track of, if you want to connect Google Analytics to your websites, and then again to your Facebook ads and so on. So you can do that by asking if you have a web developer or something, probably someone, right? And then Facebook gives pretty clear instructions on where to put that one in the code.
Thank
So
you.
that's
Thank you.
related to the whole tag manager thing and all that.
Thank you. Thank you both. I see that Tiago has a question. Go ahead, Tiago.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa, for promote this moment to learn. Thank you, Stein, for your presentation. We are together on that here in the Netherlands also. I have two questions, very quick. You mentioned some content, so people click on and they go to certain kind of content, Bible, certain kind of Bible studio or whatever. My question is, do you have a different kind of, maybe I lost this part, different kind of content for different kind of interest, and what happens after the click, as we used to ask, there is life after the click. So when someone will get contact with a human being. And talking about human being, that's the second question. Do you have plans to use artificial intelligence to drive people to the right road in terms of Bible studies and get to the connection between their kind of mindset and interest and move to the right direction?
I think just starting on the last question, I think we actually are doing that already by advertising on Facebook and other advertising platforms because of their AI-driven algorithms, where it's like a bidding process, like an auctioning thing, where they see who has the most interest and who's willing to pay the most and which ads are most performing best and so on. But I don't know. So I think you see AI there, but I don't know how we would implement that on a website specifically. I think it's enough to make sure that you have one landing page per course or per product that you're, service that you're offering. Was there anything else?
So the other question, which is actually what I was going to ask Tiago, so thank you, is what about customer service, so to speak? When does a person who is interested actually get in touch with a real human being?
Yeah, that's anytime they comment, right, on the ad, I check it, I moderate it. Sometimes it's something that I feel like should be answered publicly, so I write a comment and all of a sudden they're in touch with a real person. Or I send them a message to their personal messenger as like on behalf of the Norwegian Bible Institute's account, depending on the problem or the question they have, right? I also, of course, tell them the opening hours and the phone number, because sometimes the people aren't very well versed on Facebook. They just happen to be there and scroll and click, right? So then they can call the people in the office and get any help they want. And that's also how the courses are set up in such a way that you fill out one part and then you submit it, and then you get a feedback on it from an actual person, right? And that's the whether you do it online or you get it sent to you in the mail. So it's there are quite a few touch points in that way.
Yeah, that's very important then, because then the Bible Institute has a team of people who can then take these precious people that you manage to get hold of and carry them through, which I think is super, super important. Thor, you wrote a comment. If you want to say it, you can wrap up with that. And yeah. Your microphone is off, I think, Thor.
Yeah, yes, Tiago, there will be a contact point between the student and what should I say, study study guides, sort of if humans that will guide a person through their studies, but a face-to-face thing is something that is postponed, and they have to go through a certain set number of lessons before that is potentially initiated. But there will always be an interaction with a human where they are encouraged to send their comments, ask if they have prayer requests and so on, and they will be prayed for. So absolutely, there's human contact fairly soon.
Thank you so much, Thor, for that. And Stein, wow, thank you so much. We literally ran out of time, but I wonder if you could type your email address into the chat. I know it was in your presentation, and I know that it will be available online later, but some people were specifically asking for a way to contact you. So there you go. That's the email address. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. It is so amazing when we can cooperate and work together as a team, which we are, and share knowledge. I really appreciate both of you and Thor. This wouldn't have happened without your suggestions. So thank you everybody for tuning in. You will receive an email with the information for the next webinar. God bless you and enjoy the rest of the day.